photograph to when it would appear in a publication, whether it's a newspaper or a magazine. And what we've really done here is and thanks to Bill, who threw nothing away. Bill, we don't call Bill a hoarder, but we'd be in his studio and we'd be talking about, oh, it'd be great to have, this. And he'd say, oh, we've got that, So, in fact, you had the receipt from your first camera, right, Bill?
I had money order when I was in Bloomington. My first camera, so I bought a garden camera, and I said money order.
So in the cases here, we have literally a step-by-step demonstration of the tools that Bill would have used. Again, these days you take it with your digital camera, you fire it off, and people would have it in literally seconds. That wasn't the case. Bill had to take the photograph, he had to go back, he had to develop the film. Sometimes that was done at the AP office, with all the right equipment right at his fingertips, and, in a comfortable setting. But many times he was doing this work in a hotel room. He had a makeshift darkroom in his hotel room. He would process the film, he would review the contact sheets, he would make the decision. And by the way, we have contact sheets, examples of the contact sheets on the walls here so you get some idea of what he was looking at. And then he would select just that right image. He may look through 40, 50 different images of the same subject and then make a decision as this is the one that's going to be printed. We've got his equipment over here, we have his chemicals, we have one of the cameras that he was using here, we have an example of an actual contact sheet here. In the next case down here, we have his actual enlarger that he would use, and then the equipment that was used during that process, those steps of the process. Over here we have the chemicals, again, that he would use during the creation of the actual photograph. And then in this case right here, we have an actual AP transmitter that Bill mentioned earlier. In the photographs that were on the wall over here, some of them had a copy along the bottom. And those were the actual AP wire prints that Bill sent. We have an example of an AP transmitter here. We have an image with the copy on it. And what Bill would do is he would produce the image, and then using his typewriter right over here, thankfully Bill saved that, he would bang out the description that was going to appear with that, so that when the person received it in London, they would have some idea of what they were looking at. Otherwise, they're just looking at a photograph with no context and not quite sure what to do with it. Once they received that, they could either rewrite that copy or they could just use it as he sent it. And Bill obviously earned the respect of the people who were receiving his work, because more often than not, the caption that would appear in the magazine or in the newspaper was word for word what Bill wrote. So he really knew his subject. He knew the information that was important to get out, and his editors would trust him with that. So again, we have the actual AP machine here with the copy. We have, actually this is the copy text that he would receive, saying what was actually transmitted, and it was validated what came through in the image, the typewriter that he would use. And then on this side over here, we have what we call the finished product. We have a copy of Time magazine, which by the way is of that Iraqi soldier that's on the wall over here. And then the actual copy, the actual newspaper of the New York Times with the Marine bombing, the photograph of the African-American Marine being pulled out of the rubble. So we really wanted to show a comprehensive look at what a photographer of his day would have had to go through, the process that he would have gone through to make a photograph, get it in the hands of the people that needed to have it, and then have it published. So, and then this case right over here, these are just kind of the things that Bill would go through every day. We have his vest, we have the money that he would use to move through from country to country. We have some of his early press passes here, from Cairo, from Israel, from his early days with Wish TV. This is his daily log that he would keep notes to himself. There's some really interesting entries in there, some that we had to be very careful that they didn't appear, capturing the moment of the time. This is his passport. And then here's some of the shrapnel that Bill collected over the years. And as I stated there, unfortunately, much of those shrapnel was aimed at him. So Bill was, as he'll, well, I'll let you tell the story, Bill, you know, about just the way you would travel, you know, through the various checkpoints and some of the challenges you would have with that, please.
And in Beirut, we had, in 81, there were 44 recognized militias in Beirut. Out of the 44, there were only probably 8 that were taken seriously. So you had probably 6 different press cards from militias, the Lebanese government, and whoever else. And we would cross between East and West Beirut, go to Muslim West Beirut, Christian East Beirut, and you go through all these checkpoints when things were interesting, when things were really, when there was fighting going on, when there was tension. So you had to make sure that you had the right card at the right checkpoint. You didn't want to put out a Shiite Party of God press card to the Christian militia. Not a good idea. You know, I mean, basically they all knew we were doing this, but you know, you'd rather not rub in their faces, and rather not annoy somebody who can do you serious damage. So it's always interesting when this kind of, when you're this level of number of people that you got to sort of placate when you're doing your job. And this stuff over here, you know, the money for Israel and the shrapnel that I avoided, thank God for small favors. But we got the press cards, there's a Iranian press card, there's covering Mandela's visit to New York in the 90s, you know, all this stuff. It's all very exciting time, and it's still exciting. And Mark and Catherine have done an amazing job in seeing the way to put this together to make it all make sense. It's not just all about the news, it's all about, you know, making the picture, telling the story, and that kind of stuff. And I can't thank these guys enough for what we've gone through the last 18 months to end up with this. To see this, to me, it's just, you know, I'm speechless. It's really, it's amazing. So, any questions? You're also quiet. You're like my students. My students. Any questions? You're silence.
Well, I have a question. We're trying to soak it in.
Yeah.
You introduced the exhibit as he was a photographer, a photojournalist, but also an artist. Bill, did you see yourself as an artist in creating all of this, or were you a photographer doing a job?
No, I think you're always looking at the best way to make the picture. Right? And in doing that is an art. You know, whether it's photographing Anwar Sadat or photographing bakers in the garbage dump, it's, you know, making the best picture you can. So that, to me, is art. You don't look at it being used as art at the moment, but as we see the evolution of this stuff in the last, you know, 50, 60 years, where, as Catherine said, first it was made in a newspaper, you can wrap your garbage in it and throw it away, and now it's stuff at the museum walls.